Am I the a-hole for yelling at my grieving mom? My 17 male mom, 46, wanted to reconcile recently. I live with my grandparents since I was 8. My dad died when I was 2, and I just have some pictures of but no memories with him. She remarried when I was 5 and immediately dumped me on my grandparents after her first new baby. Every attempt to contact her from my side was blocked, like I never existed. I'd stalked her on every social media platform until someday I just gave up. She had 2 children from her new husband, who I don't consider my stepdad. A few months ago, she had a car accident in which she had survived, but all her children died. I never attempted any funeral for them, or had any relationship as siblings, as they were just strangers who happened to share part of my DNA. However, a week ago, my grandparents called me down to the kitchen, and she was there. It was totally weird to see her after this long a time. And before any words were exchanged, she cried and attempted to hug me. Of course, I pushed her away and asked what she was doing. My grandparents stayed around but said nothing, while my mom cried and said that I'm the only one left of her children. My temper was never so heated like before, but I yelled at her that she hasn't any children left and already lost every one of them. My grandpa had to drag me away to my room to prevent me from doing something stupid, and she left our house after that. Since this week, I really cannot sleep and I've been thinking about it a lot. While my hatred of her just flamed up again, I really regret what I said to a woman who just lost her children. My grandparents just said they're not surprised how I reacted and they can't blame me for that. But maybe they just say that because they're close to me. That's why I want to ask strangers. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. She dumped you for her new family and then expected to pick you back up as if nothing had changed between you two when they were gone? She has no right to a relationship with you. I think your reaction was entirely understandable, and while I understand why you feel bad about it, you shouldn't. Just jumping on this to say this is unfortunately more common than you think. There are plenty of stories on here that are similar, and maybe you can find some comfort in knowing that your reaction is completely understandable and borderline warranted. Not an a-hole. Like that story where the OP was dumped on her grandparents so her parents could focus on her terminally ill sister. 7 years later, she passed away and the parents came back to 19-year-old Opie like, "Your sister has died, so we got time to be your family now." Opie told them that they only have one daughter but she died, and pretty much told them to go pound sand. Only difference is that Opie's mother never planned on coming back for Opie at all. She just came back because her other kids from her new marriage died, and was like, "At least I have a spare kid." I don't blame Opie in the slightest for telling her she effectively has no kids. She brought it upon herself as far as Opie wanting nothing to do with her. Not an a-hole, Opie. Good God, I am so sorry. She treats you like a damned spare tire. I am glad your grandparents are there to support you. I hope that sometime in the future you will realize that you're worthy of respect and love, even though your mom did not give those to you. Good luck, Opie. Exactly. What happens when she has other children again? No good mother abandons their children because they got married. Save yourself future headaches and go no contact with her. She doesn't deserve you. You sweet baby. Don't lose a wink of sleep over this. She ambushed you for her own selfish needs, and years of pain and hurt poured out of you because she never would let you express it before. It does not matter what she just lost. She was your mother and you lost her. You don't owe her anything. Next story. Am I the a-hole for snapping at my parents after they confessed that I'm the product of an affair? I'm 23 female and moving out of state to attend college soon, and I couldn't be any more ecstatic. Unfortunately, I just had a massive bombshell dropped on me that has flipped my head upside down. A bit of background. I have triplets brothers that are 33 years old, my mom 56 female, and my dad 60 male. Growing up, my siblings and parents have always been my biggest support system. I love them all dearly, and they've always been there for me whenever I needed someone. This makes the whole realization even crazier because I just don't know what to think. Earlier today, my parents came into my room and said that they needed to talk to me about something. Both of them, especially my mom, looked petrified. My mom was tearing up and shaking. My mom pretty much just blurted out that my dad is not actually my bio father. My mind went blank, and I honestly thought it was all just a prank. My mom told me that 23 years ago, she and my dad were going through a lot of marital issues. She reconnected with her old high school boyfriend, and they ended up sleeping together. They only hooked up once, and 1 month later, my mom found out she was pregnant with me. She confessed everything to my dad, and she also informed my bio father. My bio father was a massive substance user and wanted nothing to do with me or my mom. My dad then decided to forgive my mom, and they wanted to work things out together. Unfortunately, when I was about 3 months old, my bio father passed away. So my dad decided that he would take over the role as my father and legally adopted me when I was 2. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I kept waiting for them to tell me this was all a joke. To make things even more shocking, all my brothers have known about this since I was 2 years old. My parents made them swear that they would never tell me the truth, that it had to come from them. My mom kept crying and saying that she wanted to tell me sooner, but there never seemed to be the right time. I admit, I snapped, cried and yelled at them. I just couldn't keep it any longer. How could you all keep this from me? Why tell me right before I leave the freaking state? They said they didn't want me to feel any different, or potentially feel guilty about what happened to my bio father. They said they wanted me to have a happy childhood, but they just couldn't hide it anymore, especially now that I'm moving out. I stormed out and went to go stay with a friend. Now my parents have called and begged me to forgive them, but my brothers are all pissed at me and said that I'm being way too harsh on them. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They chose to do it before you left as to avoid having to deal with the consequences after. This is an easy logical leap, but I doubt it is accurate. Have you ever had a secret? It's truly hard and terrifying to divulge, and so easy to put off for one day, then the next. Then the sub exposes you to a lot of tales of really poor humans. But I think this is more likely a case of flawed people letting their love and personal convenience blind them. Opie is not the a-hole. That kind of news is a betrayal and incredibly emotional. However, she needs to search her heart, because a bunch of strangers don't know her parents. Sounds like she has a mother who made a huge mistake and a father that chose her and stepped up for her whole life. If the realities of her life are otherwise, then that must be dealt with. No matter what, I hope Opie takes advantage of whatever counseling services exist at her new school. Ultimately, Opie should know this doesn't change who she is. Take time and space to process, but she has an incredible opportunity and this should not ruin that. Have a great time in college, Opie. You are gonna be fine eventually. Not the a-hole. I'm adopted, and I couldn't imagine being told that way, although I would have figured it out because I'm a different race. I'm of the belief that you tell your children early in a way that they can understand. You don't lie to your children to save face. I'm sure you would have loved your adopted dad just as much if you had always known the truth. Yep, same here. I feel for Opie as a fellow adopted person, but I was raised knowing it. I can't imagine how messed up I'd have gotten if my parents waited to share that with me until I was an adult and tried to gaslight me on the memories I have prior to my adoption for decades. They waited until you turned 23, long past the death of your bio father, and made your brothers not say anything towards you. Even if you had a wonderful childhood, I would be beyond upset to find out that I was born out of marital problems. Also, they wait until you are right about to leave. Of all times, did they need to wait that long to drop a bombshell? You are not the a-hole because of not necessarily how for not being able to have a relationship with your dad. It wasn't their fault he died when you weren't even in kindergarten yet, but for how they handled it. I don't think they should have waited till you basically were flying solo to tell you something this big. And your mom had a waterworks when she should have expected her own daughter to snap. You were basically born because of them nearly divorcing and your mom's infidelity. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to get over it, knowing that she's struggling with infertility? My wife, 38 female, and I, 42 male, have been trying for a child since we tied the knot 6 years ago. We haven't had any success. We have had failed IVF treatments and miscarried again and again. This has obviously taken a toll on my wife. I own a business, and a year after my wife and I got married, I hired Noah, 26 male. Noah has a fiancée, Taylor, 26 female. Noah and I get along great, and he's like a second son. I have one from a previous marriage, and we have a good bond. Taylor is also a great girl. She's very kind, and they seem very happy in their relationship. Now, my wife has always had some sort of animosity towards Taylor. I'm not sure why, she just seems to get very angry around her. Early on in meeting one another, Taylor tried to talk to my wife, but she would always brush her off or ignore her. My wife has also told me she thinks Taylor is too stuck up, only because she comes from money. Over the weekend, we all attended a gathering and we ran into Noah and Taylor. Now, Taylor is a very slim girl, and her stomach is usually flat, but she looked very bloated. She sat for a majority of the party and was only drinking water. She also wasn't as dressed up as she usually is. Noah had talked to me a few days prior asking me for tips on being a dad. It said they were expecting. So I knew this, but it slipped my mind to mention it to my wife beforehand. A few of the other women at the party asked Taylor if she was pregnant, and she said yes. They then asked her how far along she was, and she said she was only 11 weeks, but they were expecting triplets, so she looked a lot bigger than she would had they been having one. My wife lost her mind, to put it lightly. She started accusing Taylor of always trying to one-up her and of being a stuck-up witch. Taylor started sobbing, and I quite literally had to drag my wife out of the party and drive home as Noah and the other guests were trying to console Taylor as we left. To say I was livid would be an understatement. We went back and forth, and I told her that she would need to get over whatever hatred she has towards Taylor, because she has done nothing wrong, and that our fertility issues is not the fault of another person. She called me an unbelievable a-hole, and we haven't spoken to each other since. I talked to Noah and Taylor earlier today, and they said they were fine. Taylor said she understood but didn't mean to upset my wife. She also said that she's just very sensitive and emotional. I told her it wasn't her fault, and that I hope she has a safe pregnancy, and that they could reach out to me for any help. My wife overheard this and called her sister. And now they're both calling me an a-hole for siding with Taylor and Noah. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your wife needs some help. She seems to be under a lot of pressure and taking it out on the wrong person. I'd say the jealousy is eating her up at a young pregnant married woman. Logic isn't your wife's friend at the moment. If she is taking fertility drugs, that doesn't help. They make you crazy. I remember being on them and everything was so over the top emotional. I was in them and after trying for a long time, taking temp, tests, pain and sadness, and that feeling that you're somehow a failure as a woman. The young woman from my church got pregnant right after she got married, and I was heartbroken. I didn't begrudge her the joy and excitement of her pregnancy, but I was sad and jealous, and it's likely part of it. Not the a-hole. Your wife really needs some counseling. She has a huge broken heart with everything she's going through. Taylor, unfortunately, was the outlet of her pain. 100%. Infertility is extremely stressful and emotional, speaking from experience. My fertility doctor usually recommended therapy to me after I fell apart in the doctor's office after my first failed treatment. Therapy and support groups helped me enormously. It doesn't make the pain and grief go away, but it gives you tools to learn how to deal with it. OP definitely needs to, sensitively, bring up therapy or some type of support group. It sounds like his wife needs an outlet for her pain. Not the a-hole. But has your wife had any therapy? Trying for 6 years with losses and failed IVF would be incredibly hard. And the fact that he has a child with another woman could also factor in somehow too. Not the a-hole. How would it even be possible to take a side in someone else's pregnancy? It would have been helpful for your wife to have time to prepare, but she will, from time to time, be present when a pregnancy is announced. I would strongly encourage your wife to speak to someone about her reaction because that sounds pretty over the top. Grief is a strange and powerful thing. There's no shame in needing help to navigate it. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for returning to older family traditions and not keeping any of the newer ones? This has stirred some controversy in my family and I need some honesty on this. I got married recently, eloped, and my husband and I are now expecting a baby together. We tried to create traditions for our family that are a mashup of our favorite traditions from the past. For me, those traditions were ones from when my mom was alive, and those are the ones I reflect on fondly. But the problem is, my dad remarried and those traditions were replaced with new ones. And everyone in the family, my 2 younger siblings, step-siblings, half-siblings, dad and dad's wife, prefers the newer ones. And they're hurt I didn't take any of those traditions into my new family. It only came up because one of the traditions was pregnancy related, and I said no to taking part in it. They asked why, And I said it wasn't a tradition I was fond of or wanted to carry forward into my family. Then my dad starts asking if I'll stop doing all the others. Christmas bouncing around everyone's houses and dinners, huge extended family photos done by every individual family with an extended family, etc. And I said yes, that we were only doing our favorites from our childhoods and mine were all from when mom was alive. He said it would break his wife's heart, and my siblings/half-siblings/step-siblings, because I'm rejecting the traditions we carried as a family. I said I wasn't going to cut my actual favorite traditions again just for their feelings. He told them, and now they're all upset in different degrees of mad at me. His wife said I might never have wanted her to be my other mom, but I should treasure the family and the memories of the whole family by carrying some of them on. I explained to her it wasn't meant as a rejection. I just always wanted to keep those old traditions alive, because it's bringing part of my mom through. She told me that might be important to me, but I should think about how they all feel, and how it seems like the family we call created was never anything but second best. I told her I still got to see all of them, but not my mom. And I bit my tongue, because it is kinda true the blended family was second best. To me it's like, of course I would prefer the family where my mom was alive. This is still an ongoing issue. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This is a pretty damn easy one. You do you. If you don't like something, you have every right to stop practicing it. You are in control of your life, what you follow and what you choose to do. If people chose to get upset or offended by your actions, that's their problem. I feel like Opie's dad is just trying to stir up drama in the family. He is angry that his new wife clearly never placed the mom the way she did for him, and feels bad that Opie is making that apparent now. Calling it right here. You're an adult. You don't need anyone's permission to live your adult life the way you choose. You get to decide entirely for yourself what traditions you wish to create and maintain. Not the a-hole. It's not real clear to me. Are you saying you are no longer willing to attend holiday dinners or take part in family photos that also contain your own siblings? If so, I can see why they are upset. I won't go from house to house December 24/25/26 anymore. If we can meet up around Christmas and celebrate, that's fine. But no moving around or having everyone just drop in over those days at random. And I won't be paying for photos of the whole bunch. I might still take part in the ones at my dad's. But in general, I'm not going to my dad's wife's family to take part, and I'm not going to pay to have them taken for me and my husband either.